When the new kid's cherished pendant is stolen and destroyed by the school bully, his response, using martial arts with restraint rather than revenge, changes everything at Pinewood High. The hallways of Pinewood High School gleamed with the polished sheen of privilege and tradition. Morning sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating trophy cases that chronicled decades of athletic and academic achievements. Outside, a crisp January wind scattered dried leaves across the manicured grounds, where students in designer winter coats huddled in familiar groups, their laughter hanging in the frosty air. Marcus Johnson stood at the entrance, one hand unconsciously reaching for the pendant hidden beneath his shirt collar. The cool metal against his fingertips scented him as his father's voice echoed in his memory. The true master fights only when there is no other choice. At 16, Marcus had already collected enough medals to fill his own trophy case, though they now sat in boxes since the move from Chicago. 3 months after his father's funeral, his mother had accepted the hospital administrator position that brought them to this affluent suburb. Taking a deep breath, Marcus pushed through the double doors and entered the stream of students. The hallway didn't exactly fall silent, but conversations dimmed as curious glances tracked his progress. He kept his eyes forward, shoulders relaxed but squared, the stance of someone accustomed to being evaluated by opponents. Room 216, locker. 437, Marcus muttered to himself, scanning the numbers as he navigated the unfamiliar territory. "Yo, check the new kid," a voice carried from a cluster of Letterman jackets gathered near the row of lockers Marcus was approaching. At the center stood a broad-shouldered guy with close-cropped blonde hair and a confident smirk that suggested he rarely heard the word no. Marcus found locker 437, 3 down from the group, and focused on working the combination. The lock clicked open just as a shoulder bumped into his, hard enough to make him step sideways. "My bad," said the blonde guy, not sounding sorry at all. "Tyler Brooks," he added, extending a hand with an assessing look. "Wrestling team captain. You look like you might have some moves." Marcus shook the hand firmly but briefly. "Marcus Johnson." "Chicago, right?" Tyler's eyes narrowed slightly. "Long way from home." Before Marcus could respond, the warning bell rang, and he followed the flow of students into his first class. The teacher, Ms. Winters, smiled warmly as she checked his schedule. "Class, we have a new student joining us," she announced. "Marcus. Johnson comes to us from Chicago, where he was quite the martial arts champion. National junior champion in his division last year, if I'm not mistaken." Marcus winced internally as 27 pairs of eyes turned to examine him with renewed interest. From the back of the room, he caught Tyler exchanging looks with 2 other athletes, their expressions a mixture of challenge and dismissal. As Marcus took the only available seat near the window, he noticed a girl with curly hair pulled into a loose bun watching him. Unlike the others, her gaze held no judgment, only recognition. When she caught him looking back, she offered a small smile that momentarily eased the knot in his stomach. The name on her notebook read, Sophia Chen Rivera. In that moment, as Ms. Winters began discussing the semester's curriculum, Marcus ran his thumb over his father's pendant beneath his shirt. He could almost hear his dad's steady voice reminding him that the greatest battles were fought within, that control was harder than combat, that patience was its own form of strength. But as he felt Tyler's eyes boring into the back of his head, Marcus wondered how long patience would be enough in a place where he was clearly being sized up as either a threat or a conquest. The first week at Pinewood High established a pattern. Tyler Brooks operated with the precision of someone who had perfected the art of making life difficult without crossing obvious lines. When Marcus turned a corner, Tyler would be there, shoulder connecting just hard enough to send Marcus's books scattering across the polished floor. "My bad," Tyler would say, the same insincere apology each time, his friends snickering as they passed. By Thursday, whispers followed Marcus through the hallways. He caught fragments. "Attitude problem. Thinks he's special. Chicago thug." Each one a small cut that individually might heal but collectively festered. The cafeteria offered no refuge. Marcus stood with his tray, scanning the room for an empty table, aware of the subtle shifts as students placed bags on adjacent seats when he approached. "The corner table is usually safe," came a voice behind him. The girl from his physics class, Sophia, nodded toward an empty table near the windows. "I'm heading there if you want to join." Over bland pizza and questionable fruit cups, Sophia laid out the unwritten rules of Pinewood social hierarchy. "Tyler does this to anyone he sees as competition, but—" She hesitated, pushing her food around her plate. "He's worse with students of color. Last year, there was a Vietnamese kid who transferred in, National Merit Scholar. Tyler made sure he transferred out by Thanksgiving." "And the teachers just let it happen?" Marcus asked. Sophia's laugh held no humor. "Mrs. Prentice asked me last week if I needed ESL resources. My family's been in California for 3 generations, and my dad's a literature professor." She shrugged. "It's not just Tyler." As if on cue, Mr. Hodges, the history teacher, stopped by their table. "Marcus, I'm impressed by your essay on the Civil War. Very articulate." He smiled benevolently. "Where did you attend school before this?" "Westside Academy in Chicago, sir." "Really? Excellent school. Full scholarship?" Marcus felt heat rise in his neck. "No, sir. My father taught there. Later, during PE, Coach Brunner paired students for basketball." He looked at Marcus appraisingly. "You're what, 6'1"? You must be a natural. Show us what you got, Johnson." When Marcus performed adequately, but not exceptionally, the coach's disappointment was palpable. "Thought you people dominated this game," he muttered, walking away. That night, Marcus punched his pillow repeatedly, his father's words echoing, "Control your emotions, or they will control you." The bruises forming on his shoulder from Tyler's accidental collisions throbbed with his heartbeat. The martial arts club existed only on paper, a remnant of a Japanese exchange program that ended years ago. The gym was empty after school, the mats still stacked in the corner. Marcus convinced the janitor to let him set them up each afternoon, promising to return everything exactly as he found it. For an hour each day, Marcus found peace in the rhythmic movements of his forms. The kata his father had taught him since he was 5 became meditation in motion, each controlled breath pushing away the day's frustrations. Until the 3rd week, when the gym door banged open mid-session. "Look at Jackie Chan over here," Tyler's voice echoed across the empty gym. 3 of his wrestling teammates flanked him, leaning against the wall. "What's this called again? Kung Fu Panda style?" Marcus continued his form, focusing on each movement, as his father had taught him. Focus on what you can control. "Seriously, though," Tyler continued, walking along the edge of the mat. "What's the point of all this dance stuff? Not like it works in a real fight." Marcus completed his sequence before responding. "It's not about fighting." "Sure looks useless to me," Tyler scoffed. "Why don't you try that fancy footwork against someone who actually knows how to throw down?" Marcus began stacking the mats. "I'm done for today." "Yeah, that's what I thought," Tyler laughed, high-fiving his friends as they left. The following day in AP Physics, Ms. Winters announced the semester projects. "I've paired you based on complementary skills," she explained, posting the list on the board. Marcus's stomach dropped when he saw his name next to Tyler's. Great, Tyler muttered, dropping into the seat beside him. Just don't mess up my grade. Chicago. After class, Sophia caught up with him in the hallway. Bad luck with Tyler, but I heard you've got the highest grades in physics so far. My dad was big on understanding the physics behind movement. Said you can't master martial arts without understanding force and momentum. The memory caught in his throat. We used to calculate trajectory angles together. Sophia smiled. My mom's the same about chemistry. She's a pharmacist. She quizzes me on organic compounds while making dinner. She hesitated before adding, Some of us meet at the library on Thursdays to study. You should come. It was the first genuine invitation he'd received, but the warmth it provided was quickly extinguished when he discovered someone had written, Go back to the hood, on his locker in black marker. The dreams started in the 4th week. His father, dressed in his formal jai, watching from the corner of the training room, face impassive, as Marcus struggled against shadowy opponents with Tyler's laugh. You're not controlling your path, his father would say, fading away as Marcus reached for him. He'd wake breathless, reaching for the pendant that wasn't there, the phantom weight of it still a reflex. His journal became a lifeline, letters to his father that he could no longer send. Dad, today. I almost broke. Tyler knocked my physics notebook into a puddle. By accident. 3 weeks of notes ruined. I wanted to put him through the wall. Would have been so easy. You taught me how. But I also heard you saying that knowledge without restraint is just violence waiting to happen. I miss your guidance. Mom's working double shifts to establish herself at the hospital. She comes home exhausted. I can't add to her burdens. How do I honor your teachings when everything in me wants to fight back? The next entry, dated 3 days later. Nightmares again. You're disappointed in me, both for wanting to fight and for not standing up for myself. I don't know which is worse. Called Mom today during her break. Told her school is fine. Another lie. She asked if I'm still practicing. I am. More than ever. The forms help, but the anger just goes underground for a while. Sophia invited me to study with her friends. They're okay. Not friendly exactly, but not hostile either. Small victories, right? After these sessions, Marcus would return to the empty gym, pushing himself through increasingly complex forms until his muscles burned and his jai was soaked with sweat. Only then, physically exhausted, could he find temporary peace. Tyler Brooks was Pinewood royalty by birthright. His father, Richard Brooks, had been state wrestling champion 3 years running, his framed jersey still hanging in the school's entryway. Now a successful real estate developer and major school donor, Richard expected his son to surpass his legacy. Tyler's father calls the principal directly if his son gets anything less than an A, Sophia explained during one study session. He once got a math teacher transferred to the middle school for giving Tyler a C+. Marcus observed Tyler during team practices. Despite his arrogance, Tyler trained with desperate intensity, often staying late, repeating drills until well after the others had left. Once, Marcus overheard Coach Bruner's conversation with Tyler after a particularly grueling practice. Your father called again about the college scouts, the coach said. I told him they'll be at the state finals, but he's pushing for earlier matches. I'll be ready, Tyler replied, voice tight. Just need to perfect that takedown. You'd better. Richard was asking if this year's team is as strong as when he was captain. The shadow that crossed Tyler's face revealed more than any words could. The dynamics of Tyler's friend group became clearer with observation. Jason, the vice captain, followed Tyler out of genuine admiration. Devon, a wrestler with a permanent sneer, seemed to enjoy cruelty for its own sake. The others orbited around, some uncomfortable with the harassment, but unwilling to challenge the social order. When Marcus asked the vice principal about transferring from Tyler's physics project, group, the response was telling. Boys will be boys, Johnson. Part of growing up is learning to work with different personalities. Mr. Landry leaned back in his chair. Besides, the Brooks family is very involved with our school. I'm sure any issues are just misunderstandings. The high physics project became a battleground. Their assignment, to design and build a bridge demonstrating specific principles of force distribution, required actual collaboration. We should use a suspension design, Marcus suggested during their first work session. I've calculated that it would support more weight for the materials we're allowed. Tyler barely glanced at Marcus's detailed sketches. We're doing a truss bridge. My dad says those are more practical. But the assignment is about maximum efficiency. Look at these numbers. I'm not tanking my grade on some experimental design. We're doing the truss. Tyler erased Marcus's notes from the whiteboard. Just handle the calculations part. I'll build it. When Marcus brought his concerns to Ms. Winters, she encouraged him to find common ground and practice collaboration skills. Sophia found him in the library later, frustration still simmering. You have to stand up for yourself academically, she insisted. That's one arena where they can't just steamroll you. The next project session, Marcus brought comprehensive research, comparison models, and material stress tests for both designs. He laid out a clear, data-driven argument for the suspension bridge. When Tyler tried to dismiss him, Marcus calmly continued presenting his evidence until other students nearby began to take notice. Fine, Tyler finally conceded, voice tight. We'll do the stupid suspension thing, but when it fails, it's on you. The temporary victory was short-lived. The following morning, Marcus found his locker defaced with a crude racial slur scratched into the metal. The word seemed to burn into his vision, impossible to ignore as students passed by, some averting their eyes, others snickering. Principal Davis examined the vandalism with a pained expression, not of outrage, but of inconvenience. Teenage. Pranks can get out of hand, he said, patting Marcus's shoulder. Best not to overreact. Makes it worse, you know. We'll get this painted over. This isn't a prank, Marcus insisted. This is targeted harassment. Now. Pinewood has an excellent record of inclusivity. Let's not make assumptions about motives. The final blow came during PE. Marcus had taken to wearing his father's pendant visibly now, a small act of defiance and self-affirmation. He secured it in his gym locker during class, tucked safely in his jeans pocket. After an exhausting round of fitness tests, Marcus returned to find his locker intact but the pendant gone. He tore through his clothes, checked the shower drains, retraced his steps across the gym floor. Nothing. Coach Brunner was unsympathetic. Should have left valuables at home. Can't be responsible for everything that goes missing. As the class filed out, Marcus caught Tyler watching him, something small and metallic disappearing into his pocket. Their eyes met, and Tyler's smile contained no pretense of innocence. That night, Marcus's journal entry was just 2 lines. Dad, I don't know if I can keep my promise anymore. Something has to change. The revelation came during lunch on Thursday, 3 days after the pendant disappeared. Marcus was picking at his food when a flash of gold caught his eye. Across the cafeteria, Tyler was holding court at his usual table, gesturing expansively as he told some story to his laughing teammates. Around his neck hung a familiar pendant, his father's medallion, the one awarded after his championship victory in Beijing. Marcus set his tray down with deliberate care. Every sound in the cafeteria seemed to fade as he made his way across the room. Conversations quieted as students sensed the shift in atmosphere, the purposeful stride that carried Marcus toward Tyler's table. Tyler noticed the silence first, then Marcus approaching. A smirk spread across his face as he fingered the pendant. "Looking for something, Chicago?" Marcus kept his voice level, though it took everything he had. "That belongs to my father. I'd like it back." "Finders keepers," Tyler replied, the childish phrase dripping with malice. "But if it means so much to you, maybe we can discuss it after school." His friends exchanged glances, a choreographed display of anticipation. Parking lot. 3 o'clock, one of them added unnecessarily. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Sophia caught up with him between classes, concern etched on her face. "I heard what happened. Don't go alone. Tyler's gathering his whole crew." "I need that pendant back," Marcus replied simply. "Then I'm coming with you." The parking lot was already crowded when Marcus arrived, word having spread throughout the day. Tyler and 5 of his friends formed a loose semicircle near the bike racks, a deliberate stage set for public humiliation. Tyler fingered the pendant as Marcus approached. "Daddy's little good luck charm, huh? Doesn't seem very lucky to me." He dangled it tauntingly. "It's not about luck," Marcus said. "It's about remembrance. Please give it back." "Oh, it's please now? What happened to all that tough guy martial arts crap?" Tyler glanced around at his audience. "Maybe if you get on your knees and beg, I'll think about it." From the edge of the gathering, Sophia had her phone out, recording quietly. "I'm not going to beg," Marcus said. "That pendant was my father's. He passed away last year. It's all I have left from him." Something flickered in Tyler's eyes, perhaps a moment of recognition, of shared loss, but it hardened quickly. "Should have thought about that before trying to show me up in physics. Before thinking you could just come here and take what isn't yours." "Take what?" Marcus asked, genuine confusion breaking through his calm demeanor. "Respect. Position. My spot." Tyler's voice rose with each word. Everyone's so impressed with the new kid from Chicago, with his perfect grades and his fancy fighting. He yanked the pendant from his neck, chain breaking. "You want this piece of junk back? Here." He threw it to the ground and deliberately brought his heel down on it. The metal made a sickening crunch against the asphalt. Something shifted in Marcus then. Not the explosive rage Tyler was hoping for, but a crystalline clarity. Time seemed to slow as his father's voice echoed in his mind. "The true master fights only when there is no other choice." There was no other choice now. Tyler's first punch came fast, but telegraphed widely. Marcus sidestepped, allowing the momentum to carry Tyler forward, off balance. A simple redirection with his forearm sent Tyler stumbling past him. "What the—" Tyler spun around, face reddening. 2 of Tyler's friends moved in. The taller one grabbed for Marcus's arm while the other swung from the side. Marcus dropped his center of gravity, circling his arm in a fluid Aikido movement that broke the grip and used the attacker's own force to send him staggering into his friend. "Stop dancing and fight back!" Tyler shouted, charging again. Marcus met the charge with stillness, waiting until the last possible moment before pivoting. His hands found Tyler's wrist and elbow, not striking but guiding, transforming Tyler's aggressive energy into harmless motion that left him facing the wrong direction, stumbling to his knees. The remaining 3 friends attacked together. Marcus moved like water through their uncoordinated efforts, never striking, only redirecting. A wrist lock here, a sweeping leg, redirection there. One by one, they found themselves sitting on the asphalt, disoriented but unhurt, unable to understand how they'd gotten there. Tyler rose again, rage contorting his features. "Fight me for real, you coward." "I am," Marcus replied calmly. "This is real fighting, understanding force, not just creating it." Tyler bellowed as he charged one last time. Both arms extended to tackle Marcus to the ground. Marcus stepped inside the charge, using a basic jiu-jitsu technique to control Tyler's descent, guiding him to the ground and immobilizing him with a simple joint lock that caused discomfort, but no injury. Tyler struggled, face pressed against the asphalt, inches from the crushed pendant. "Look at it," Marcus said quietly, so only Tyler could hear. "That meant everything to me, and you destroyed it because you thought it would make you feel powerful." He eased the pressure on Tyler's arm. "It didn't, did it?" The fight seemed to drain from Tyler all at once. Marcus released the hold and rose, extending a hand to help Tyler up. After a moment's hesitation, Tyler took it. The parking lot had gone completely silent. Dozens of students stood frozen, witnessing something they hadn't expected. Not violence, but its transcendence. Sophia stepped forward, phone still recording. "I got everything," she announced loudly, from Tyler throwing the first punch to Marcus, showing restraint. Others began to speak up then. "Tyler's been doing this all year. Remember what happened to Minho last semester? He slashed Jessica's art project when she wouldn't go out with him. My brother said his father threatened to pull funding if he got suspended again." Tyler's face paled as the dam of silence broke. The protection of collective fear was evaporating in real time. Marcus knelt and carefully gathered the bent pendant and broken chain, cradling them in his palm. The dragon engraving was dented, but still visible. His father's achievement, his legacy, damaged but not destroyed. As the crowd began to disperse, some giving Marcus appreciative nods, others still processing what they'd witnessed, Sophia approached him. "You okay?" she asked softly. Marcus looked down at the pendant, tracing the damaged surface with his thumb. A tear slipped down his cheek, the first he'd allowed himself since arriving at Pinewood. "No," he admitted. "But I think I will be." Behind them, Tyler stood alone, his friends having scattered like smoke. For the first time since Marcus had arrived at Pinewood, the wrestler looked small, unsure, and perhaps in the way he watched Marcus cradle his father's pendant, recognizing something within himself that needed to change. Fighting on school grounds is strictly prohibited, regardless of who started it. Principal Davis paced behind his desk, where Marcus, Tyler, and Tyler's friends sat in a row of chairs facing him. "I have no choice but to issue equal disciplinary with respect, sir. It wasn't equal." Sophia stepped forward from where she waited by the door. "And we have proof." She placed her phone on his desk, the video already queued up. The principal's expression shifted as he watched, from administrative indifference to genuine concern as the footage showed Tyler's deliberate provocation, the destruction of the pendant, and Marcus's measured response. "I see," he said quietly, when it ended. "Ms. Chen Rivera, please send this to my email." The next morning, the consequences were announced. Tyler and his friends received 2-week suspensions and were temporarily removed from their athletic teams pending review. Coach Bruner protested until Richard Brooks himself, after viewing the video, silenced him with an uncharacteristic, "My son will face the consequences of his actions." Marcus received no punishment. Instead, a formal acknowledgement was added. to his record, noting his exceptional restraint and maturity in a volatile situation. But the real resolution came when Marcus found a small package in his locker. Inside lay his father's pendant, professionally restored, with a note in unfamiliar handwriting. Some things shouldn't remain broken.